window screen were littered with the dead and the wounded.
The British command has underestimated the Argentines' determination to take casualties.
There wasn't even time to think of taking cover. Many were brought ashore with dreadful burns.
Private Ombudsman, Private Fletcher.
On the 2nd of April 1982, Argentina invaded Britain's most remote territory, the Falkland Islands. The war which followed would last just 74 days, but take the lives of 255 British military personnel and 649 Argentinian. It was to change the fortunes of the Thatcher government, give rise to stories of great courage and heroism, and mark the dawn of a new era for this tiny British outpost. This is the story of 3 men and their war as they returned to the islands together 30 years on from the conflict. "400 miles off the coast of South America and 8,000 miles from London are the Falkland Islands. Argentina has long believed that the islands are rightfully her territory, and on the 2nd of April 1982, her forces invaded the Falklands. The British government decided to protect the outpost and sent a task force from Portsmouth just 3 days later. The fleet was made up of 127 ships, carrying 28,000 troops.
We are now well into the second leg of our journey south. Even so, the Falklands are still thousands of miles away.
It took them 17 days to complete their 8,000-mile journey to the South Atlantic. Amongst those travelling on the task force, a journalist, a marine, and a Welsh guardsman. His would become the most enduring image of the conflict. Simon Weston became known as the face of the Falklands.
You know, in one way you went there as one person and came back as the person I know you now.
Yeah.
On the 8th of June, Simon Weston was on board the HMS Sir Galahad in Fitzroy Bay when the ship was hit by an Argentine bomb. 48 of his comrades were killed. Simon only just survived.
The day that I got blown up, my life changed quite literally in a flash. But I had no idea as to what extent it would change. But the Falklands holds a very bittersweet place in my heart, because it changed my life, and without it, a lot of the great things and the good things that have happened in my life would never have happened. My family wouldn't have had to go through the pain and the suffering that they had to watch me go through.
Simon went through 70 major operations in the decade following his injury. He wants to return to the Falklands one last time to finally lay his ghosts to rest.
I just want to see more of the place that changed my life forever, nearly took my life. Took so many lives of friends of mine. Behind us, showing over our heads, are the British 105s. And all the time, helicopters coming in, dropping in troops.
Michael Nicholson is one of Britain's most celebrated war correspondents. Working for ITN News, he joined the military task force sent to fight in the Falklands. This was to be the first time that a broadcast journalist would be embedded with British troops.
And I remember standing on the upper deck on Hermes with a line of officers, and one of the junior officers leant across me and whispered, "I feel a bit of a cheat, don't you?" And I knew what he meant, because none of us, believe me, whatever else you hear, none of us ever thought we were going to war.
But they were going to war. And despite the fact that by 1982, Michael had already reported from several other war zones, this conflict would prove unique in his experience.
We all know here, and you all know there, how costly this war has been, how bloody.
The Falklands War was different from all my other wars because all my other wars were foreign wars. They were about foreigners fighting foreigners. And I could be a spectator, you know, I could just do my job as an objective reporter.
Casualties were high on both sides, and next morning the fields around Goose Green were littered with the dead and the wounded. Leading the attack...
And I suppose the reason one gets slightly emotional about it is that watching foreign casualties does not have the same effect upon my psyche as watching my own people dying. And I shall go back, and of course I shall remember things that I'd hoped to have forgotten. It'll bring back lots of sad memories.
At the start of June 1982, during the crucial final days of the conflict, British forces recaptured the high ground around the capital, Port Stanley. One of the biggest battles was at the Mount of Two Sisters.
We stayed with the Gurkha Signals Company on Two Sisters as Argentine shells came in around us.
Nick Taylor was a young Marine in 1982, and as part of 4-5 Commando, he fought at Two Sisters. He went on to have a 22-year career in the Royal Marines. This will be his first trip back to the Falklands, the place he first experienced the reality of war.
You grow up very quickly, it builds your character. You're obviously still a young man, you're still maturing. It's hard, it hardens you. Of course it does, you know, you're in war, that's reality. People do get killed, you are shooting people, living in harsh conditions. That hardens you up as a person and builds your character. Of course it does change you.
Nick took dozens of photographs of his Falklands experience. He has a very special reason for wanting to return to the islands.
After the Battle of Two Sisters, we went through the Argentinians' equipment, picking up blankets, looking at the rations. We were short on rations, so we started eating their rations, some of their drinks, their clothing. And whilst I was looking in one of the bags, I found a camera. And then when I got back to UK, I developed it, and it was actually of an Argentinian officer in the position on Two Sisters. And it turns out that these are the guys you're actually fighting against.
Nick has kept the photographs along with his own all these years. As the 30th anniversary of the war approached, he began to think seriously about finding the Argentinian soldier who'd taken the pictures.
It does bring back the memories, and you wonder whether that guy is still alive and what his experiences are, and wouldn't it just be great to meet him and give him this film?
News of Nick's search reached Argentina, and he has finally tracked down that Argentinian soldier. The two men have made contact and arranged to meet, 30 years after they fought against each other, on Two Sisters, in the Falklands.
I really just want to return to photographs and sort of possibly relive some of the experiences, you know, as part of my character and part of my life, and it'd just be nice to see that, but also to see it from an Argentinian's perspective and see what his experiences were.
The War of 1982 was brutal and bloody, but it changed the destiny of these islands. Well on the way to being self-sufficient, the Falklands has a burgeoning confidence. Tourism is expanding rapidly. Visitors come to experience the extraordinary wildlife and stunning landscapes across the hundreds of islands that make up the Falklands. Years ago, The war was fought during the bleak South Atlantic winter. From April till June, Michael Nicholson filed reports each day for ITN News.
Do you know, I've never ever seen the Falklands with a blue sky. I mean, I've never ever seen a sky like this or a sun like this. The sun never seemed to shine in my memories of the Falkland Islands, especially not during those war months. So suddenly to see it in summertime is astonishing. The other thing is that, you know, when you look around, what were old sheds and old barns, corrugated roof and rusting, and now houses. You know, that sense of transition seems to become now a sense of permanence.
War veterans Simon Weston and Nick Taylor have also made the 8,000-mile journey to the Falkland Islands to mark the 30th anniversary of the conflict. This is the Governor's House in the capital Port Stanley. It's where these iconic images of the Union Jack being raised were filmed at the end of the war.
Where were you on Surrender Day?
As we came down from Sap Hill, we marched through, must have been sort of about a day and a half afterwards. One of the power battalions were going into a church parade. As we walked past them all, after yomping across the whole of the Falklands, we were in pretty rag order. And to see the guys all washed and cleaned up, ready to go to church service, it was an ideal time to move on and get onto the ship and get out of here, really.
I feel proud that I was a part of it, although my part was just getting injured. There was so many others who paid a much higher price.
I think it's the old cliche, you know what you signed up for. That's why you do the job. And to have the opportunity as a soldier to go to war is what you join up to do.
Local newspaper editor Lisa Watson and her family have lived on Long Island Farm, 20 miles from Stanley, since before the war. Her father Neil was a leading member of the Islanders' resistance movement. The family provided food and shelter to British Marines, and Neil took part in dangerous surveillance missions on Argentine positions for the UK Special Forces. Because of this, the Watsons were regularly subjected to visits from the Argentine military police. Like many islanders, Neil was deeply affected by the war.
Do you ever think about it other than when you're being interviewed like this? Is it too long ago?
No, it's not. No, it doesn't. No, and in fact, I didn't realise it, but my wife Glenda said to me several years after the war that they suddenly discovered PTSD, and she said to me, post-traumatic stress disorder, right. And she said, "You had that?" I said, "No," she did.
What does she mean?
Well, it's the change when every time I come into April in the year, you know, she reckoned I'd had to change. Something used to change. I didn't realise it, did I? But she did.
Every April, the beginning of the war.
2nd of April, yeah.
You felt it yourself?
No, but I used to lay in bed some nights, and I just felt, I think, like I did in the war, just angry about it all.
So this still aggravates you, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah.
Really does, yeah.
That plus the memories.
Yeah.
Lisa is proud of how much the Falklands have changed since the war.
We're a country that has its own industries. We've got our fishing industry, we've got agriculture, we've got tourism, and it's a beautiful country. It's not just about a war that happened 30 years ago. What we want to be is something that makes the whole war worthwhile, and the fact that men died for this country and died for us, and we're incredibly grateful for that. And I think that's part of the reason that we've worked so hard to develop the Falkland Islands. There's a sense of obligation, you know, and I mean that really sincerely. There's even a small degree of guilt, I think. But what we want to be worth something. We want to be worth what happened.
I will always have a very special place in my heart for this place. You know, it left a mark on me that I can't wash away.
This is where Simon Weston's life changed forever. Fitzroy Bay, where his ship Sir Galahad bound. There's a monument to remember the Welsh guards who died here.
Jim Carlyle, he was a good guy. He and Dale, he shared in the barracks. He was in the room, his bed next to mine. Mike Dunphy, he signed on for a while to stay down there. Cliff Ellie, Sergeant Ellie, I played rugby with him. He was a very good rugby player. Paul Green, his mum moved down here.
She lives here now?
She lives here now, yeah. And I think two of his sisters live here as well. Yeah, that's where my name would have gone down there.
You'd have been here, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
At 2 p.m. on the 8th of June, while preparing to unload soldiers here in Fitzroy Bay, the Galahad was bombed. Michael Nicholson and his cameraman were here to witness the tragedy.
I watched from the shore less than 400 yards away and felt the impact on the ground below me as the hold full of ammunition exploded.
48 men died, most of them Welsh guards.
Many were brought ashore with dreadful burns.
Simon suffered 46% burns. He was rescued by helicopter.
We were sitting just beyond the hill there. There was no warning whatsoever, no alarm, nothing.
All we heard was it was air raid warning green, it's red, get down, and that was the last thing I heard before the bomb. And I saw the bomb come through, and it came through about 10, 12 feet in front of me. And it just tore through where I'd left my kit, and it went straight into there and detonated then.
We were over there, and they all came in, and the Marines and Paras went out up to their necks to drag the guys in.
Come on, pull!
And there was this great shout, pull lads, just repetitive. And they brought them all in. Brought them all in.
I was talking to some of my friends, a guy called Mark Pemberton, and he said he couldn't wait to get into shallow water so he could jump in and put himself out. So he's still on fire.
Was he? Tell us what it is in Welsh there. Did you say it in Welsh?
In Angoth ni Cant Fod. We will remember them. You know, I was fortunate enough to get out. 3 lads in front of me took the blast. And, you know, you witness an awful lot of horrible things in seas like
we certainly do.
The Galahad was taken out to sea and sunk. The men who perished on board were laid to rest with their vessel at the bottom of the South Atlantic. Step one of a long and painful journey to recovery was the community centre in the nearby settlement at Fitzroy. Where Simon spent the first few hours after being rescued.
I was right at the back here, right at the back of the ship. Where the bomb came through, where all the fire started, it came through. Strangely enough, it feels like it was yesterday, and it feels like it was somebody else's lifetime ago. For me, anyway.
But in that single moment, Simon hadn't just been horrifically injured. He'd lost most of his friends, and has always carried with him guilt that he survived while so many others did not.
You know, you're alive, your friends are dead. That's it. You can't ever bring your friends back. And friends are hard made. you have to go a lifetime of experiences to make good friends, and when they're gone, you just don't bring them back. The only time you ever can get them back is up here. But yeah, it was harder, yeah, without a doubt, losing your friends. You know, injuries, just injuries. You'll get fit, you can get healthy, you can get well again. You know, you're never coming back the same person. It's impossible, but you can always live.
Ex-Royal Marine Nick Taylor is here in the Falklands for a very special reason. To meet his old enemy, the Argentine soldier whose camera he found.
Photographs are memories, and I think, you know, by giving those photographs back to Marcelo, it's part of him, it's part of his life, and the same for me.
Nick is understandably nervous about the meeting, aware that they may have very different views on who the Falklands belong to.
Yeah, I'm patriotic. I've served for Queen and country. No, I do. I really believe that. You know, I'm British through, and this is exactly what we've done. We've done it for the people, to give the Falkland Islands back to them.
Marcelo Lambias is the ex-Argentinian officer whose photos Nick has. He is also now in the Falklands, ahead of their meeting, and he does feel very differently to Nick about the sovereignty of these islands.
We were convinced that we were defending the rights of our country. In Argentina, the majority of the people are convinced that the islands are ours.
Yet both men are intrigued by the connection they have through the photos they took here 3 decades ago.
I think we are connected because both of us lived the same experience here. It's such a noble gesture. I was very deeply touched by that, because, you know, he didn't have to do it. I think that reflects the fact that there are no bad feelings among soldiers.
In June of 1982, British forces were making good progress against the Argentinians. The final push of the conflict was to regain control of the higher ground around the capital, Port Stanley.
The attacks had all been planned to take place at night. There was too much open ground between the mountains. Land without cover for British troops to risk daylight offensives.
The war was proving costly in lives and ships. Success now rested on the 6 bloody battles of these mountain ranges. One of the fiercest of those fights was at the Mount of Two Sisters. Nick Taylor and 4-5 Commander Marines had walked over 56 miles in just 3 days in sub-zero temperatures and horrendous conditions to reach this peak.
Looking back where we came from, it's so much bigger and larger than I remember. Think in your mind, it's just that small part. It's surreal, as if you weren't actually part of it, but it's so long ago. It's a fantastic view as well.
Today, Nick is walking up to the summit of Two Sisters again, where he will meet the man whose camera he found here 30 years ago. Last time the two men were here, they were trying to kill each other. Can that be put aside 3 decades on?
It was a great memento from the battle. Then I started looking into it and we thought, I wonder if we could find the guy who owned it, whether he's still alive.
I have a lot of questions to ask him. how did they see things from the other side, because after all these years, you are not sure if what you remember it's the real thing.
Very apprehensive, excited, and really interested to meet the guy who owned the camera and to find out who we were fighting against.
How are you doing?
Good.
So at least.
You stop meeting like this. This is incredible.
This is incredible. I can't believe it. It's incredible, really.
Do you want your photos back?
Oh yes, of course. No.
I've brought them with me.
Yeah. Thank you. I think I will not remember everything.
I think you'll be surprised. There you go.
Okay.
All yours.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Really. This is Mount Challenger.
That's on Mount Challenger.
Yeah. That. My soldier. Wow. I was a kid, huh?
How old were you?
21.
21.
Yes.
I had my 21st birthday.
Yeah, I've been
Up
told.
there. On
Ken, your birthday party.
On the top, yeah. Wasn't much of a party.
Yeah.
What were you, a second lieutenant?
Second lieutenant.
Second lieutenant.
Actually, I was a cadet at the military.
Yeah.
So
how long had you been in for the time?
I was in the fourth year.
Fourth year.
And I supposed to be graduated on December. But in April, we were graduated.
Best final exercise going. They come down and do a war. It's real.
Yes. And in a week I was here. Yeah. And I didn't remember any of these photographs. Anyone. Wow. This is...
Did you ever think about the cameras or the pictures? Or
yes.
What was it like? Because well, not personally, but the guys behind us were firing the LAN, anti-tank weapons, into your position. What was that like?
It exploded very near of my head.
Yeah.
And I get,
like concussion.
Concussion, and I burned with a machine gun. And I thought my face was destroyed because I have a lot of blood, and it was only a piece of
like shrapnel.
Metal from the bullet, the cover that was cut me in my lips, and it was full of. But I started doing like this. Okay, it's okay. Yeah.
Is any of them killed?
Oh, I don't remember exactly the number of wounded. There were. Wounded, but only two dead people that night.
That night. Were you last man standing?
Excuse me.
Were you the last man?
Yes, I was the last.
When we finished and went through your positions, because we didn't have any clothing, we didn't have any rations, we were so low on everything.
And you use ours.
We used yours. We used that Argentinian beef.
It was
and the orange powder.
Ah, yes.
We found a couple of whiskey bottles in there.
Wow, yeah.
Saying that.
Of rations, they were.
Yeah, I stole these out of your ration pack, so I'm going to give you one back.
Wow.
There you go.
Thanks a lot.
Take it, you drink.
Wow.
Cheers. Cheers.
Good whiskey.
For war veteran Simon Weston, the Falklands has always represented injury and pain. For 30 years he's been questioning whether what he and others went through during the war was worth it. In this, his last trip back to the islands, he hopes to finally answer that question.
The first reaction is absolutely incredible. Look at this. It's surreal almost when you think that this place was and is famous for a land battle and a navy battle that went on for a very short period of time that killed so many men, and that's what people think of it. But it is amazing because people have lost sight of what is here, and we didn't know. When we came here, we had no idea all this wonderful natural beauty was here. We just came here because of what we had to do. I never thought I would have this sort of warm experience, this thrill. And it really is a thrill for me. This is the bit that people don't see, and this is what I feel that we've given a life to, really. I never thought I'd feel about the Falklands the way I feel now, considering the first time I came here, it was the scene of all my worst nightmares coming to be here all at once. The horrors and the pain, the suffering, the loss of life and everything else. And then you come here and you've got little birds dancing around your feet. You've got beautiful penguins, and you realise that what you play a part in is actually keeping this safe for people.
Jenny Luxton is landlady to Britain's most southerly hotel here on Sea Lion Island. It's also home to elephant seals, whales and 5 breeds of penguin.
It's great that we can share it with other people now. You know, tourism's taken off since after the war.
Do you think the war benefited the islands?
Well, it's a terrible thing to say, but it has. But we hope, because of all the loss of life, that we've done something with the islands, and therefore it wasn't the waste of life. People won't think that, of course, but we hope that we've done something with the islands to show that we do care in that way.
Somehow this makes it so much less painful. It really does. For me, it makes it less painful. What we did and what we were able to achieve and what we lost as well. It makes the injuries so much more bearable, seeing the beauty and the success of the islands. You know, although I'm over the worst of it and everything else, you know, you always have moments, but for me, I will always look at this and say, you know, what I went through, this was all worthwhile. I didn't expect it to be such an emotional thing. I have lovely memories now.
On the hillside overlooking Blue Beach at San Carlos is the British cemetery. The remains of 14 British soldiers are buried here.
You've been back a few times, haven't you?
I've been back a couple of times, yeah. It's
First time you're here.
first time I've been here.
Well looked after, isn't it?
Nick, Michael and Simon all arrived in the Falklands on ships in this bay.
1,000 pounder dropped less than 50 yards from it. A ship shot it and it exploded in the water. He also dropped 50 yards from...
San Carlos Bay became notorious during the conflict.
They were coming over those hills there, and they swooped down, and then did a turn like this, and went straight down. And we called it Bomb Alley. And apparently, after so many casualties of the Argentinian Air Force, they called it Death Valley. Right, yeah, Bomb Alley to us and Death Valley to them. It's always very strange to come back to these places. They're so peaceful now. You can't believe that what you saw then, it really was real. But it was real.
Did we really expect to suffer such casualties? More ships sunk in as many days and as many again damaged. Our other air attack casualties in San Carlos water moved past us that evening to more protected anchorages.
It was carnage then. The ships were going down. You know, there came a point where we wondered whether we would run out of ships before the Argentinians ran out of planes. There's 7 ships went down here. Here's Colonel H's grave.
I didn't know any of them. They obviously like the tipple, this one.
2 Paras.
2 Para.
Colonel Jones, one of the commanding officers. Nice that he stays with his men, because in the old days they'd always ship the bodies of the officers home. But I think these fellows must be pleased to be here. I mean, look at it.
One of the legacies of war has been a steady growth in the Falklands economy. Tim Miller, who lost an eye when he was injured by shrapnel during the conflict, runs an organic fruit and vegetable business alongside the island's only garden centre.
What you got here? You've got tomatoes?
Tomatoes here, cherry tomatoes up there behind us, and then further on down we've got aubergines, cucumbers, chili peppers,
These are
green beans. Yeah.
And this is all for the home market?
This is all for the local market on the islands. The British forces, we have a contract to supply them, and visiting warships and so on.
You're seeing a bit of the Falkland Islands that I never knew existed. I mean, just look at it.
Yeah. No, we're...
I mean, this wouldn't have happened without the war, would it?
Oh, no, absolutely no way.
What's happened in the island in 30 years is quite remarkable, isn't it?
Yes, I mean, the islands has changed dramatically in the last 30 years. We've been very lucky. We've managed to pick all the good bits of 20th and 21st century life, and we managed to sort of weed out the not so good bits. But we're at a stage now, I think, that the islands can stand whatever Argentina wants to throw at us.
The recent discovery of oil in the Falklands, and the fact that this is the 30th anniversary of the war, has contributed to an increase in tensions between the UK and Argentina over the sovereignty of these islands. The Falklands is protected by 1,200 British troops at the military base Mount Pleasant. Local newspaper editor Lisa Watson is acutely aware of the renewed hostility.
You talk to people now, and there's a certain stress, you know, is it going to happen all over again? Are we going to go through the whole problem of those guys 300 miles to the west of us? I mean, am I exaggerating?
No, you're not exaggerating at all. People do feel very, very stressed. And it's not that they're expecting an invasion, but are we worried? Yeah, yes, we definitely are worried about it, and people are terribly stressed about it. But at the same time, we still have to carry on our day-to-day life and hope that things work out. We're getting a lot of support from Britain. We really hope that continues.
An hour away from here is Mount Pleasant, an enormous airfield. I mean, doesn't it give you a lot of comfort?
That gives us an enormous amount of comfort. Without them there, then I don't think this population would still be in the Falklands. We certainly wouldn't be a British population. I mean, we can't even begin to express our gratitude for the very fact that they are there.
On their final day together, Nick Taylor and Marcelo Lamias are visiting the beautiful Argentine cemetery. The final resting place of 237 fallen soldiers. 123 of the graves have no names.
So what's the translation of that?
It's Argentine soldier only known by God, because soldiers who were conscript maybe 1 month on service, they didn't get their ID tags, so that's why there are so many without any identification.
Amongst the rows of white crosses, Marcelo finds the graves of some of the men he fought alongside.
This is special for me. This is Second Lieutenant Silva. He was my reinforcement the 2 last day at Sister.
The guy you were telling me about.
He died like a hero, helping one of his soldiers who was wounded. That was in Mount Tumbledon. Yeah, this was very, very good guy. Good guy. You know, that day I thought, I had that feeling that I was to be killed. And I asked him to tell my father if something happened to me. Yeah. And he was the one who was shot. But he was a very, very brave soldier. Very, very good officer. Brave man.
I totally understand, and I feel for him. I've got friends myself who are buried back in my hometown. I served with. It wasn't they weren't killed in the Falklands, but I feel for the guy.
It's very difficult to put in words what you are feeling. Making contact, looking at the graves of people you loved, that were your comrades and that are still here. It's very, very moving.
An emotional conclusion to a reunion neither man could have imagined would end as it has, with a lifelong friendship and genuine reconciliation. This derelict building on Ajax Bay became known as the Red and Green Life Machine. An old refrigeration unit, it was used as a field hospital by British forces. It's where Simon Weston and 170 other injured men were taken after the bombing of the Galahad.
This is where all the injured were kept, certainly from the Galahad, as far as I'm aware. I don't know whether there was another room that they put any more, but there would have been a lot of us brought in here. And my stretcher was just here.
Simon spent several days here before being moved onto the hospital ship Uganda and travelling home to Wales.
The physical side of getting well is not as difficult as the mental side of getting well. Mentally, I was all over the place for a long time. And I look at my life now and I think, well, I've been blessed with all the wonderful surgery I've had, but when you look at the mental side, there was so little attention paid to that at all. We were ignored as far as the mental health side was concerned completely. I know their official people and senior people go, oh no, that didn't happen, it did. They ignored it completely. I've been looking for myself again for 30 years. And I'm there now, I think. This trip has done an awful lot for a lot of different reasons. If you think of your heart as being sort of a little puzzle, and you're trying to find the bits to fit in there, to put it all back together again, just so it feels like it's full and rich again. The thing is, somebody once said, a lot wiser than me, said, life's not a sprint. It is a marathon, and 30 years on, I've proved you they're right. It is a big marathon.
Simon Weston has come to the end of a 30-year journey to find peace with a place that changed his life. Mick Taylor leaves with a new friendship and having returned the photos to their rightful owner.
It's absolutely incredible, to think I sat there one day thinking about those photographs and I found this guy and it's gone, a full circle, coming here and actually meet the guy and giving the photographs back to him.
While Michael Nicholson departs having learnt much about how the islands themselves have changed in the last 3 decades.
And what we've seen over this day is that these islands have been rejuvenated. I think they're thriving. What we've seen, they are thriving. And I think they'll continue to thrive. And what's happened over the last 30 years convinces me that 1, the war was necessary, and 2, we had to win it.
And in spite of current tensions over sovereignty, all of them return home with a great sense of hope for the future of these uniquely beautiful islands.
It sort of squared the circle really for me. I came back full of trepidation and nightmares. 30 years on, I don't have that anymore. I've enjoyed this immensely and it's filled somewhere in my heart that I didn't think I had.